FINNEGAN'S QUAKE Award for Best Writing. Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon.
I won't miss.
Baldur's Gate.
They're outside my control.
Try again.
Hi-Fi Rush.
Just a simple command.
Don't you think that you were right all this time and I'm a stubborn loser? Also, Peppermint is way cooler than me.
Slay the Princess.
What? No, no, I wouldn't stab you. I am just a sweet, innocent...
The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. Writing a good story for an RPG isn't just about crafting memorable characters, a compelling plot, and punchy dialogue. It's about committing to making every choice and every action meaningful. Baldur's Gate 3 revels in its commitment to predicting the diverse and often insane things players will do, and then preparing the companions, NPCs, and even the world itself to respond. Who would have thought that talking to a strange ox in Act 1 would gain you an unexpected ally for the final boss in Act 3? Or that giving an old woman hiking in the mountains an egg in her trying time would lead directly to her violent death? The fact that the game has so much unique dialogue to account for a wide array of bizarre and seemingly unconnected choices like which class you are, which companions are currently in your party, and whether or not you left Astarion inside the monastery before triggering the trap protecting a magical weapon.
What in the sweet hells were you thinking? Activating that lot? I was right there!
Speaks to how much effort Larian invested in its writing. Admittedly, the game did have a bit of a weak ending at launch, but credit where it's due, Larian addressed that months later with a patch that majorly overhauled the epilogue system. Between the characters, the world, and the story, Baldur's Gate 3 is the D&D campaign you wish your GM could run.
Pottery Award for Worst Writing. The Lord of the Rings, Gollum.
No, cruel spirit, it hurts us. We didn't kill him, my precious. He was...
Starfield.
No, not again. I can't bury another friend, Sam. I can't.
Spider-Man 2. That's the bad one. Forspoken.
Okay, fine. Look, just tell your boss, Mr. Chicken.
Giggin.
Gwiggin. Giggin! Alright, quick, Giggin!
Goodbye, Volcano High.
This feels like make or break.
Ha! More like make or bake.
Shut the fuck up!
how on earth do you fuck up an isekai? Anime publishers are buying up rights to this derivative garbage from Literal Who's on Naruto and serving it up every week as disposable slop for a brain-dead audience. The difference here being, chiefly, that it's derivative garbage by committee. It felt like something stitched together from tropes and cliches taken from a long-forgotten era of pop culture, which makes sense because it was a team of 4 Western writers raised on 80s movies who then passed it off to a Japanese team who didn't know any better. The lack of passion in the storytelling isn't helped by our own protagonist's apathy of their own situation. I could go on about all the stupid quips our protagonist and her cuff companion make, about how she completely refuses to be empathetic towards the people that help her, about how barren, generic, and boring the world the game takes place in is. So generic, in fact, that I can't even remember its name. Frey isn't having any fun 20 hours into the game, which is a huge problem because she's supposed to be our window into the strange and fascinating world. If she can't muster any enthusiasm about her own story, don't expect the player to act any different. Hopefully soon, this type of writing becomes as dated as the references it makes.
The Haptic Feedback Award for Best Gameplay. Pizza Tower. Baldur's Gate 3. Hi-Fi Rush. Armored Core 6. Fires of Rubicon. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. It's like Wario Land 4 decided to throw a pizza party. Much like the titular chunky Italian hero tearing through walls and enemies with unbridled gusto, one savvy piggy decided to take this gameplay mechanic and absolutely floor the gas. Taking his own fat Italian bastard with a vendetta against stillness and giving him speed and endurance that would make even Sonic blush. Whether you're the one in control or watching someone else play, seeing Peppino wreak havoc through the stages feels straight out of a cartoon. It's chaotic, it's hilarious, and it's a total joyride. The secret sauce here is controls tighter than a can of anchovies. You can shift on a dime and maintain your speed to keep hauling ass. And you'll need that momentum, as each level becomes increasingly demanding and complex. It's Wario Land, it's flicky, it's all that and a clove of garlic. Get funky and get smashing.
Press X to win the award for worst gameplay. Forspoken. Goodbye, Volcano High. Redfall. The Lord of the Rings, Gollum. Starfield.
How do you do, fellow kids? It's me, Rob Broward, here to show you an exciting world. Many of them, in fact. Dozens. Bajillions. Just a hop, skip, and 10 loading screens away. From the makers of Fallout 3, aka Oblivion with guns, we are happy to introduce Skyrim with guns. In space! Featuring less than one half of the weapon variety as our previous game, Fallout 4. This tighter and more focused experience ought to make you feel an extraordinary level of boredom as you cross our barren landscapes to our copy-pasted bases. Hell, you can't even kill anybody important, so there are no real consequences. What do you think this is? New Vegas? And for all you speedrunners, make sure your jetpack can be activated by both spacebar and one other key for maximum performance. Everything's better with jetpacks. Leave your basement right now and ask your mother to buy you the Elder Scrolls Starfield. You won't regret it.
IP Twist Award for Best New Implementation of an Old Franchise. System Shock Remake. Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon.
Reinforcements incoming. If I don't intercept them, we're both toast. Hate to leave you like this, but you'll have to finish.
RoboCop, Rogue City. Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh my god,
Some call me the Great Collector. Others,
The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Are you serious right now?
One fucking heavy robo-gun in one hand, a can of whoop-ass clenched in the other. Armored Core boost back into the spotlight. We were always destined to see this series return, but to think we were gifted with a level of production FromSoft is known for these days is just a treat. Every element that makes up Fires of Rubicon is honed with a razor-sharp edge, from its stunning visuals to the design of the mechs, handled with care and attention to detail, each one feeling worthy enough to get its own anime spin-off. The voice acting and sound design reach a new level, taking every step to synchronize you into the drama and action. Just as previous titles from Armored Core, the music motivates you as the apex predator, but with intense techno and sizzling synth. Fires of Rubicon graces fans with nostalgia, and newcomers with probably one of the most in-depth mech simulators in recent history, making the player really feel the complexity of the mech building, its intricacies and quirks, all culminating in you thrashing them on massive battlefields. And of course, the Moonlight Sword yet again, the cherry on top of this return to greatness.
Please Be Real Award for unannounced game we wish was real. The nominees are Team Fortress 3, Metal Gear Rising 2, God Hand 2, Half-Life 3, Portal 3. Holy crap. Holy fuck. It's a tie. With nearly 1,000 votes cast between the two games, an exactly equal amount preferred each game over the other one. To celebrate this momentous occasion, we are giving you
Yeah!
Oh, and it crashed!
Oh shit, I got my shit slapped.
God fucking damn it, it crashed!
It crashed. Oh my god.
I got the footage. Alright.
It would have been really fucking funny if
Everyone crashed? Oh, Nick is helping me out.
It would have been really funny if Gordon and Raiden teamed up to beat Armstrong together.
Why were you shooting? I think that's it though. How do you get better than it fucking crashing on?
Come on, I'm going in the chopper. Come on. Excuse me.
Hello, Mr. Vidya. The top 5 finalists for the VR award are arriving today.
Yes, the focus group Cody and I are just about ready. Remember, they adapt the best game of 1993, and the winner gets a cartoon for our Video Radical Award. Got it? Oh, right, valve silence. Okay, roll 'em.
The nominees are...
Everyone's favorite marshmallow is ready to clobber DDD's gang in Kirby's Adventure.
It's the hot new game that's got kids everywhere swapping their WAD files. It's Doom.
With a feather in his cap, Zelda's back with The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening.
Randy, sus amigos Brendan on Adventure Fantasy in Secret of Mana.
What?
Missed.
You're telling me that you recorded over our missed animation tape with you and your friends playing NBA Jam? He's fucking up!
Sorry, boss.
Come on!
Yes!
And the winner is...
Oh, give me a break.
Zorak, I'm receiving a transmission from Earth. It's from
John.
Oh, well, let's hear what the old bat has to say.
Hey kids, it's me, John Romero. 1993 was a year filled with great games. And it was in early December that id Software gifted us with Doom. Owing to the successes of smooth-scrolling Commander Keen and blasting Nazis in Wolfenstein 3D, people were inclined to believe the many promises made in Doom's over-the-top press release. There, John Carmack proclaimed his previous coding efforts to be primitive by comparison, citing enhanced controls and gameplay, more detailed mutable environments, dynamic lighting, and online multiplayer. id also requested that players please make the necessary preparations, and elaborated no further. Blessedly, their players were right to believe. id followed through on every last bit of it, and eager Doomers, after ransacking one poor university's servers in a frenzy, were graced with John Romero's pioneering efforts at creating believable spaces. 4 pillars, some questionably blue carpet, and a pile of gore suggesting the carnage ahead. Once players had mowed their way through that first level, Romero was there again, with a level timer, taunting that he had, in fact, done it faster. This particular butterfly flap would ruin the lives of many of our more impressionable fast masters. Doom would go on to set the gold standard for FPS, briefly renaming the entire genre until it telefragged us with Quake. For a victory lap, it would kick off speedrunning and online esports. Doom would have been a legendary game by these merits alone, but hacker at heart Carmack wouldn't stop there. He'd seen what burgeoning modders had done with Wolfenstein 3D, and made sure that Doom was as friendly to their efforts as possible. Now we're knee-deep in the WADs, and Doom truly has become eternal. Anywhere, anytime, you too can experience hell on Earth. If you haven't already, go play Doom. It'll run on a fucking lawnmower.
KAMIGE Award for Best Eroge. Flip Witch, Forbidden Sex Hex. Udon Gay and Interspecies Cave. Violated Princess. Princess and Conquest. Rants 9.
18 counts of fraud, 37 counts of rape, and 1 moving violation.
After 9 years of development, Rants 9 officially released in English in February 2023. Fans rejoiced, finally washing the shitty aftertaste that was Rants Quest out of their mouth with something that was actually pretty decent. After handing the country a helm in their own ass way back in Rants 3, Rants has now been hired by ex-Prince Patton to travel there and dick down the commie government with his band of outlaws. Despite the title, the focus is clearly on Patton, with Rants doing what he does best to draw in people who simply saw the title and wanted more of his antics. With gameplay influenced, and by that I mean completely stolen from one of Alice Soft's earlier titles, Mamatoro, it is rather comparable to the gameplay style of Fire Emblem. Engaging gameplay, amazing music, fantastic character interactions, and a pretty insane story are what make Patton's game truly the best Eroge of 2023.
Did this really just happen? For fuck's sakes! Did y'all really just let Rants win again? What's wrong with you guys? How can you stupid fucks worship a brain-dead idiot who only fucks women and murders everything else? Did y'all just see the name Rants and really decide to vote for him because that's the only one you recognize? You're all batshit insane if you think I'm gonna stand here and take this. I'm gonna go give V a piece of my mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to witness some games and our next attempt to make something funny. This movie, truly one of the most unusual ever filmed, contains games which under no circumstances should be played by anyone with a heart condition or anyone who is easily upset. To avoid fainting, keep repeating. It is only a game. Only a game. Only a game. Welcome to Friday Night Frights. On a Saturday.
Amnesia, the bunker. Dead Space Remake. Dredge. Resident Evil 4 Remake. World of Horror.
Okay, V, let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, World of Horror does draw obvious inspiration from the works of Junji Ito. But, as we all know, how pretty a game is has nothing to do with how good it is, or how scary. That said, World of Horror's aesthetic is doing a lot of heavy lifting, and the game clearly leans into the old adage of what you don't see is scarier than what you do. In a year filled with boats, bunkers, and daycares, World of Horror gives us something new through a uniquely nostalgic spin on the roguelike, combining a one-bit manga aesthetic, a minimalistic soundtrack, and mechanics harkening back to old-school adventure games. And leave it to a dentist to know how to build an atmosphere of dread. Watching the cast of oddball characters encounter increasingly bizarre horrors in a city slowly becoming more twisted makes survival feel that much more daunting. To say nothing of actually solving the mystery. That this game was basically developed by one person from AGDG should on its own put the rest of the industry to shame. That the game is actually scary and fun should put them in the grave.
Silicon Valley Bank Award for Most Notorious Layoffs. The Escapist. Unity.
And then the market goes through the kind of a gyration that's going through right now. I personally think that's healthy. It puts us in a position to get our costs at a level.
Activision Blizzard. Embracer Group.
Embracer Group is here. They've really fucked this place up, haven't they? It's fucking crazy.
Microsoft.
What does the scouter say about his
Layoffs.
level? It's over 9,000! What, 9,000?
You got laid off too, huh? We're all just cattle to them. They fatten us up with the promises of moving to a new land, ingraining ourselves in the company culture, before gutting us 2 weeks after the hire. Don't you see what they're doing? Those seniors up there isolate us into little teams, so when those firing squads come around, we'll have no one to speak on our behalf. You know why they do it, right? Anything to please those investors. They love seeing that big number go up. We just hired 500 new workers. Look at our 6 upcoming projects we're turning into games. Don't you see the value? We're too big to fail. But they always do. Instead of scrapping the already dying games, they cut our heads off because we're the fall guys. Every company has to downsize at some point. It was just a harmless little mistake. We at Unity bit off a bit more than we could chew. Let's make them choke on it. No company can exist without a healthy bottom line, and you're running out of infantry to fodder.
Don Miguel Award for Best RPG Maker Game of All Time. The nominees are Black Souls 2, Fear and Hunger, Lisa the Painful. Off. Yume Nikki. Every game nowadays has a plethora of guides that hold your hand and wipe your ass all the way from the main menu to the credits screen. But when you boot up Yume Nikki, you are given only a short list of instructions, and that's it. Everything else you must figure out on your own. Something like this could easily have been dismissed as horribly pretentious, but when Yume Nikki was first released back in 2004, it was practically a novelty. Yume Nikki was already noteworthy for completely ignoring RPG Maker's built-in combat system, but what made the game memorable was its adamant refusal to explain itself. I'm not entirely sure how Aztec Rave Monkey fits into Kikiyama's personal understanding of reality.
Why will elaborate on that?
No.
But hey, who are we to judge? The game offers no answers, and so it was left up to players to derive their own meaning. This has helped keep the game relevant nearly 20 years later. Sharing your discoveries, learning what you may have missed. One could argue that the players are just as responsible for making the game what it is today as its reclusive creator. The only way to discover what Yume Nikki is all about and why it's the best RPG Maker game of all time is to play it for yourself. But do yourself a favor and go in blind. Perhaps it will all make sense to you, or maybe truth is only in dreams. While you're still here, get the bicycle or you're gonna go bananas. I'm not fucking joking, just take this door, it's right here, it lets you move hella fast.
Aesthetics Award for Best Visual Aesthetics. World of Horror. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. Pizza Tower. Armored Core 6. Fires of Rubicon.
Oh god! I gotta play with my armored core! Jeez! Oh god!
Hi-Fi Rush.
I like defense.
In a huge departure from their previous grim-dark titles, Tango Gameworks decided to go for a stylish, cartoony look in their newest game. The cell shading and character design bring back memories from classic games from the 6th gen, which probably isn't a coincidence since the soundtrack itself is blatantly nostalgic for the same era. A punk rock response to the graphical arms race still going on to this day. But even looking past the cell shading, the one thing in which this game truly goes above and beyond is the animation. The game includes a metronome to help you stay in rhythm, but you won't even need it. When idling, Chai will snap his fingers to the rhythm of the soundtrack. All the attacks from both you and the enemies happen with a beat, and even props and background elements in the level bump according to the rhythm. The whole world literally moves with the groove like one giant living music video. And then there's the cutscenes. At key points, they'll switch up from in-game animation to an actual 2D cartoon straight out of Saturday morning. And when you finally land the finishing blow on certain boss fights, the game will give you a stylized splash screen in that same cartoony style. This really is the kind of game that, had it released on the PS2 back in 2005, would have been the 11-year-old you's favorite game of all time.
Pixels Art Award for Most Pretentious Indie Game. Chia. Goodbye Volcano High.
If I was studying every night to be a doctor or something,
You'd be Naomi.
oh, fuck off, Naomi.
Thirsty Suitors.
Earth to Jala. This is not the time to get distracted.
Her thighs, they're just so powerful.
Snap out of it.
Cocoon. Venom.
Wakela.
I voted for the other guy.
So did everyone else.
It's all rigged.
So you're probably expecting a long-winded speech or something. But you know who won in the end. A fan game releasing 26 months before the original, with co-op banning anyone stupid enough to name-drop it, and some random writer coming out of retirement just to post a hit piece to Kotaku. All because of 4chan. All because the wrong people made the right game. Look, Snoot Game wasn't on the ballot this year, and we're not exactly an impartial source. But if there was no Snoot Game, we never would have graduated Volcano High. Look at it this way. You got two universes, two worlds to get lost in, make fan art of, have fun playing, or to talk shit about. You guys got two cakes, man. You won. The best thing to do is to play both games, even though one wants to be petty and jealous and make you take a side. But there's plenty to love elsewhere tonight in Volcano High.
You know, you guys really have to get over yourselves. Jeez, talk about snooty.
Shut the fuck up.
Carlos.
1, 2.
Diamond in the Rough Award for Best Game That Nobody Played. Tevi. Gal Guardians, Demon Purge. Sonic Dream Team.
There it is.
Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon. Dangeresque, the Rumisode Triungulates. Platinum Games has had a rough time these last few years, what with lackluster releases and Bayo 3 coming out to our collective indifference. We didn't expect this kind of strange prequel game to be so appealing. Cereza and the Lost Demon is a departure from the current fast-paced action games Platinum has been known for, bringing us back to the kind of style and atmosphere Clover Studio games used to be famous for, taking what they did to Japanese ink paintings in Okami and applying it to a Celtic-inspired fairy tale aesthetic. Still on that idea of a slower-paced game, it seems like Platinum Games' experiments with simultaneously controlling two characters finally came to fruition here, by slowing down the combat and focusing more on exploration and puzzles. Cereza and the Lost Demon isn't just a good Bayonetta game, but a game that is enjoyable for anybody looking for a unique and gorgeous experience. A fitting bookend to the current Platinum Games. With their change in direction and Kamiya leaving, this might be the last chapter for this type of old-school style game. Looking forward to the new Platinum though. Let's hope they never lose their luster.
Hindenburg Award for Biggest Technical Blunder.
Skull Island.
This jump because it didn't
Rise
work
of
every
Kong.
time I tried
You
it.
gotta get closer, I think.
What the f-
Red.
The Lord of the Rings.
Fralman, is that you, Fralman?
Star. day before.
What a shocking surprise. The game is poorly optimized. Who would have guessed? Maybe we should have taken the hint when Todd Howard told us to just get better hardware, lol, even though it can't even run on the dedicated consoles it was designed for. Let's talk about the creation engine too, that despite Bethesda slapping a number 2 in its name, still at its core has the exact same issues since it was used to make Morrowind. That's over 20 years now, working with an engine that is held together by duct tape and mods. Oh, the mods. The famous mods will fix it attitude is exactly the reason why Bethesda never cared to put some actual effort into their software. It's hilarious how this giant company, who had all the time in the world to copy No Man's Sky, opted for explorable planets that are procedurally generated and barren, or limited to the modern equivalent of a village in Skyrim. And the NPCs, of course. They like to clip out of their clothes or clip outside the level geometry. When you're having a conversation with them, they don't have the patience or the programming to stay still. And don't you dare pick up that basketball next to a civilian or you'll be shot on the spot for trying to murder them with it. And we can add all the other smaller stuff like thousands of polygons for a single mug, wonky controls, and dubious coding in general. Basically, it just doesn't work. And it deserves this year's award without a doubt.
Rebastard Award for Best Remake or Remaster of 2023. The nominees are... System Shock!
Humanity is on the verge of a new era. I, Shodan, am its new god.
Ghost Trick! Phantom Detective! Metroid Prime! Resident Evil 4! Super Mario RPG! System Shock!
Oh, what a road this has been! Let's make a quick rundown of the game's trajectory, shall we? The game's rights were stuck in a weird limbo owned by an insurance company after the dissolution of Looking Glass Studios. Night Dive scooped them up and tested the market with re-releases, and that gave them the confidence they needed to try for something more. After their relatively successful Kickstarter campaign, the game needed to be completely rewritten to move from Unity to Unreal, which forced them into a hiatus and requiring more funds. But after 8 years of uncertainty, it was finally our chance to reunite. The game just feels like what a remake should be, taking the original game, improving on its technical limitations, and adding its own spin to the gameplay and aesthetics. The devs clearly cared about recapturing what people enjoyed about the original, but wanted to take it further than they could have 29 years ago. Using the laser rapier has never felt so good, but you get my point. That said, regarding the all remakes are bad crowd, let's see how far you'll nominate the original in next year's VR award.
WARIOWARE Award for Best Game of 2003. The nominees are...
That's the
Star
Sith motto,
Wars,
more or less.
Knights of the Old Republic.
Now, where are you going with this, I wonder? Shut up, old man.
Oh yeah.
Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne.
Slay these inhuman freaks!
Castlevania, Aria of Sorrow.
Your Anderson, welcome back.
The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. Good work. Max Payne 2. This is but one of the games of which the people speak. Long ago, there existed a franchise from which some of the greatest games of all time emerged, blessed with epic stories, innovative gameplay, and memorable music. But one day, a trailer of great evil was shown for a new entry. With its whimsical, cel-shaded art style, fans of the series cried out and spread darkness across the internet. But then, when all hope had died and the hour of doom seemed at hand, the game was released. This game was known as The Wind Waker. Featuring a magical baton and a talking boat, the series received a breath of fresh air. Tales of the game's quality were passed down from publication to publication until it became legend. A day came when rumors of a darker, grittier game spread amongst the fans. But that is a game for another award show. What became of the series? Why don't you wait for Least Worst and find out? Through word of mouth and re-releases, The Wind Waker has found a second wind. Like the hero of time himself, it took a bold step into the unknown, and many of its innovations have become customary to include in future entries. Entries which aspire to tell their own epic tales of skyward swords and the faces of evil. It's only a matter of time before some brave new developer shows courage like the hero of legend.
Plot and Backstory Award for Best Representation of Women. Yas, Princess, slay.
What's the for? Have you changed your mind? Are you going to... So this is what it feels.
The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Resident Evil 4, Remake. Atelier Ryza 3.
はい、わかってます。
Baldur's Gate 3.
Puny! I am...
Gus keeps cooking up new ways for us to appreciate the Ryza games. Over this robust video game trilogy, the titular Ryza has shaped up into a well-rounded woman. All of her assets are on display here. Her extensive knowledge of alchemy, her kindness, her charm, and as we explore her huge tracts of land, we can't help but appreciate how she's grown and how she's captured our hearts with her quirky charm. And what talent she possesses. Civic engineering, economics, fighting off an extra-dimensional invasion, all in a day's work for our perky protagonist. And who could complain about this presumed final entry, with all of our old friends and allies joining in on the fun? The past 3 games have been a long and satisfying ride, and while she's already called a cab and left for work, there'd certainly be no complaints if our alluring alchemist had us coming again.
Ricardo Milo's award for best representation of men. Pizza Tower.
I'm married. You don't even have a girlfriend. Why would I want a woman in my life?
Resident Evil 4 Remake.
You got anything new in that big coat of yours? Just.
Robocop Rogue City.
Don't worry. I know you got something I like.
Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon.
Today I'll be taking a look at the Baltus boss fight in Armored Core 6. I have 2 builds prepared for you, including the exact one that...
Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name.
Oh shit. I'm sorry. Were you expecting some cute guy? Well, you were right. In fact, we've got a whole smorgasbord of big guys for you. Hot and ready straight to your door. In 30 minutes or less. Come take a bite out of the hot, steamy men of Pizza Tower. They're just dripping with hard, scrumptious goodness that's a cut above the rest of those other guys. Pepperman's delicious and oh so spicy. The Vigilante's got a hair trigger like a jackrabbit. Gustavo ain't just all dough. He'll show you a supreme time. Pillar John's a bit crusty, but he's a guy with a serious crunch. So thick. And there's no faking everyone's favorite Italian sausage man, Peppino. He's got a big load of your favorite toppings, ready to stick it to your hunger for a good time. Are you waiting for a formal invitation? Roll on over and get your crust stuffed.
Hate Machine Award for Crimes Against Gaming. Starfield.
You know, it is our first new franchise,
in over 25 years. So if I was going to come, you know, it's for Starfield.
Unity. SJWs.
What will you learn? What will you learn? That your actions have consequences!
Microtransactions and gacha games. Activision Blizzard.
This parasitic entity who's done nothing but harm the games industry, the people who work on games, the developers.
Game publishers have always been blood-sucking parasites, but dealing with them was often reserved for the end of the development process, allowing you to make the game of your dreams in peace. We live in a new era, where these vampires now intend to own and exploit the means of production as well, trapping you in a game of their own before it's barely even started. Once it was decided Unity was too big to fail, the CEO, John Riccitello, concluded Unity's massive wealth and influence were not enough, and established a fee per install of each Unity game. A fee structure so ridiculous, and so easy to exploit. He was hoping the community would accept his calculated concessions after the heat died down. But Joey Rigatoni has once again underestimated the outrage he would cause amongst the communities he was claiming to serve. This repugnant snake managed to ruin Electronic Arts, win its 2 consecutive Golden Poo Awards for Worst Company of the Year, then land safely and comfortably as the head of Unity, where he once again overplayed his hand by pulling the rug from under his customers and setting independent development back by 5 years. The rapid migration by these developers to Unreal, Godot, GameMaker, etc. has only served to highlight the level of dissatisfaction that was boiling up before this fee was even thought to exist, and served as both a convenient excuse to move on and the final straw. Congratulations, Unity. You have fucked around, and you have found out.
もう耐えられない。解雇、汚職、そして貪欲。今年は誰ものものだ。
そうはさせない。
やれやれ、セーラー戦士たちか。期限をより台無しにさせるよね。来い！誰もの強さを思い知るがいい。
ドキュメンタリーマジッ
ク。もちろんそこまで遡るのか。1998年にボット機器はないんだ。消えろ、闇の中に。
パワーサージパルス。
こんな限定品なのにシャイニングホースがないか。情けねえ。
サイバーパンクストライク。
召喚？何のために？元を壊すため？セービングデータを消すため？言い訳はいらない。
ロボコップクリスタルハートビーム
Reinforcements have arrived.
今でも希望は業界に輝いているの。楽しいゲームを作りたい人たちのために。
私いや違う。誰もが救い、誰もこそが覇者だ。誰もがこの業界を召喚するものだ。
Don't stop fighting crime just yet. We now return you to Sailor Moon.
誰もがこの業界を召喚するものだ。
みんなお待たせ。クレーンゲームからやっと出れたの。高かったわ。いけない、なんとかしなきゃ。ハイファイ、ビューティーショック。
I think all my defenses did my talking for me.
All I heard was a lot of meh. Mr. Jai, do not escalate.
You are such an idiot.
Oh, this is bad.
惜しかったな。でもまだまだ。
何ここは闇？いけない、仲間を守らなきゃ。ねえ、そこにいるならお願い、みんなを助けて。
What was your plan for this, Peppermint?
I don't know. Fight?
Unrestricted creative freedom!
808 is my eyes and ears out there. But it looks like she's taken a liking to you.
This is the greatest plan ever!
This is the dumbest plan ever. Shall I take them in, sir?
Of course I want you to take them in. Why else would I bring you?
Can we just one... Sorry, just take a second.
Are we actually giving them a moment, sir?
I am a rock star.
Sailor V? やったね。よかったわ。遅かったじゃない。ごめんね、みんな。たまーに自分のビートに任せるだけなの。
And the crowd goes wild.
Chai, 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 chai.
Chai, 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 chai.
Is this the guy?
Lightning!
CC Award for Best Shoot 'em Up of All Time. The nominees are Gradius. Toho 8, Imperishable Night. Ikaruga. Toho 6, Embodiment of Scarlet Devil. Space Invader.
Watch as I fire upwards to our own shield! Oh, he's a madman!
Approach your target and attack. Your mission starts now. Are you ready?
Ikaruga is the answer to the question that Radiant Silvergun presented, cutting down Silvergun's wide variety of weapons to only two: a linear shot and a bomb-style homing laser. It also adds nigh invulnerability and swapping shot polarities, and the game makes you use them all to their fullest. Ikaruga needs none of the RPG-style grinding, power-ups, customization, and so forth seen in other innovative shoot-em-ups. It is a true STG at its core, stripped to the bone and refined to its extreme, drawing power from the earliest classics and inspiring others that came after it. Ikaruga remains a treasure for the hardcore gamer. The same hardcore gamer who asked Radiant Silvergun this question. Even through all of the developer frustration, retailer manipulation, and outsider protestation, do you love me? Ikaruga answers, yes, I do love you.
Also, you're all retarded for not nominating.
Most Hated Award for Most Hated Game of the Year. The nominees are The Lord of the Rings, Gollum.
Stop the wagon!
Too late, little oxes, too late.
Starfield. Redfall. Forspoken.
For now, here's some collateral.
Spider-Man 2.
A break-in, and they're still outside. Hey, need a dance partner? I've been waiting.
been noticing a trend amongst our most hated winners. Sure, they're no fun to play, but there's a certain apathy built into them. As if the developers made a plate of chocolate chip cookies and followed the recipe exactly, but forgot the most important ingredient: love. Forspoken has some aspects that could be passable, like the parkour and the graphics, but it's all spoiled by the terrible taste the whole game leaves in our mouths when all the other bland factors join together into a hard, chalky mess. It represents Square Enix's absurd commitment to pander to the West in the laziest and most boring way, when nobody was asking them to in the first place. The more they involve the corporate office, the worse the result. And it's been this way as far back as the Crystal Tools debacle with FF13. Final Fantasy as a franchise was never consistent, and for many, that was a selling point. The fans never knew what was coming next. Sure, it didn't always hit, but it all came from a place of genuine enthusiasm. Some Japanese fuck who'd been sitting on their fanfic for 20 years, waiting for technology to catch up. Costing over $100 million, it's sad to see Forspoken as such a gigantic financial risk, but not a creative one. Who was this story for? Was it ever for anyone? Did it start as a lifeless product meant to check boxes, or were the hard edges filed away through dozens of international board calls and Zoom meetings? How many more Forspokens and Saints Rows can they afford, now that the tech industry is in shambles and investors are pulling their money away from gaming? Forspoken is only here because it's the latest in a string of disjointed constructions by a handcuffed or uninvested creative team. Don't call it a cause, call it a symptom.
Least Worst Award for Least Worst Game of the Year. The nominees are Armored Core 6: Fires of Rubicon, Baldur's Gate 3,
This.
Hi-Fi Rush,
I'm here, baby.
Who are you talking?
Pizza Tower, The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom,
It's you. I didn't expect to see you here.
Oh, V, you did it. You picked the game everybody else picked. Congratulations. I'd tell y'all to go to hell, but you already do that in an optional questline. Larian has been lurking around our awards, getting a 3rd place here, a 5th place there, but never quite making the cut for a proper award until now. Baldur's Gate 3 was Larian using all the lessons they got from their own original Sin games and applying them to one of the most iconic settings in classic CRPGs. It's not easy to spend 150 hours with the same setting and cast of characters, but Baldur's Gate 3 meets the challenge like any good dungeon master would, by making your decisions matter, usually via party dynamics and how you choose to interact with your fellow band of infected allies, and how they choose to react in turn. Speaking of D&D, Baldur's Gate uses that familiar 5e gameplay that you may not love, but definitely know how to use. Baldur's Gate 3 stands in clear opposition to Forspoken, being a game that was developed with direct contact with its players, made by people that had a clear vision about what they liked, and above all, just wanted to make a good-ass game. $60, no microtransactions, no battle passes, no extra paid shit. Just an honest-to-ball, straight-to-the-point, charming, engaging, sword and sorcery RPG that just about everybody found a reason to love. Here's hoping for projects like this to continue to grow and fill in the space that AAA games have been struggling to keep up in for years. Crying online about having to meet standards of quality that used to be the norm less than 2 decades ago. Let's face it, the future is indie.